Hello and welcome to Faith and Freedom. I'm Shemane Nugent. Did you see that big hair in that intro? It feels like 250 years of hair. Happy birthday, America. You know, as we celebrate America's 250th birthday, one of the founding principles of this country is self-reliance. And that doesn't just apply to our freedoms or responsibilities as citizens, it applies to our health as well. And this summer, patriotic Americans from coast to coast will be celebrating the 250th birthday of the greatest country on the planet. And this nation was founded by brave patriots who declared their independence from our British overlords. This summer is not only a good time to reflect on 250 years of American exceptionalism, it's also a great time to channel some of that American individualism and declare your independence from Big Pharma and this broken medical establishment. And that's where the Wellness Company comes in. You see and hear from TWC doctors all the time on this network, and you know that the products are the gold standard for keeping you and your family safe and healthy. The Wellness Company gives you the opportunity to make sure that you're prepared for whatever happens with their series of prescription medical kits that contain an assortment of life-saving medications and guidebooks to help you in the proper use of these medications, including for pets as well. Additionally, the Wellness Company offers a variety of products from parasite cleanses, methylene blue, weight loss, and so much more that can help you stay healthy and live a longer, more satisfying life. Celebrate America's 250 by declaring your independence from Big Pharma. Go to twc.health/Shemane today to order. That's twc.health/Shemane. Don't forget, use that promo code Shemane to save 10%. Dr. Peter McCullough has been one of the loudest voices telling Americans to take charge of their own health. Ask questions. Do your own research. Dr. McCullough joins us now. Dr. McCullough, welcome back to Faith and Freedom.
Thank you.
So with America's 250th birthday celebration, one of the things that's always made this country special is that spirit of independence and self-reliance. And that has to apply to healthcare as well, right?
You know, for sure, America was founded on rugged individualism. And remember, the Declaration of Independence it guarantees us, no matter what, that we have the right to, our lives, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that includes determining what happens to our bodies. Bodily autonomy is in the Declaration of Independence. And then the Bill of Rights gives us, our First Amendment right to free speech. So we can talk about it. We can talk about things. And what we saw during the pandemic was a shutdown of our right to bodily autonomy. People were told they couldn't do what they wanted to do with respect to their bodies during the pandemic. And then we saw market restrictions in free speech. That was the genesis of why we formed the Wellness Company, to not only bring people the truth, everybody should sign up, get our newsletters, they're free, and then to offer products in a way that enables people's own bodily autonomy, allows people to make their choices with respect to healthcare, not have the government do it for them.
Yeah, if COVID taught us anything, it's that we can't just blindly trust the government and the medical establishment, no offense, to do right by us. And we've been discouraged, Dr. McCullough, to do our own homework. I got banned on TikTok, I think because I talked about ivermectin, and I got my ivermectin mebendazole, and I did this cleanse. And I think it's important for everybody to do their own research. But why do you think that they're discouraging us from doing that?
In my first book, Courage to Face COVID-19, myself and best-selling author John Leake, we essentially conceptualized what we call a biopharmaceutical complex. That is a biomedical deep state that's oriented, unfortunately, against the patient's best interests, particularly when there's affordable, safe, generic products that can be used to solve problems So ivermectin and benazole, very effective in solving the problem of neglected parasite infections, but also now used off-label as an anti-neoplastic adjunct to cancer therapy. So isn't it interesting that patients with cancer, they have no generic options. Everything has to be branded and offered through a cancer center. I've been in practice 40 years. I'm starting to get suspicious that there's intentional suppression of affordable options.
Well, I've been in the health and fitness industry for 46 years, been teaching group aerobics, different from what you've been doing, obviously. But I saw firsthand when COVID happened, I started asking questions and I got suppressed and shadow banned for asking questions. But this administration is doing some good things, especially under Secretary Kennedy. How worried are you that Big Pharma still has way too much pull over healthcare policy?
There is evidence that even despite the new administration, that, again, this biomedical deep state exists, and we aren't seeing things move as rapidly as we'd like to see with reforms with respect to the burden of vaccines on children, for instance, on the safety of novel genetic products. You know, the messenger RNA platform, that's been given a green light for RSV and influenza, of which there's no emergency, and still has skipped all the basic preclinical testing. I've got great concerns as a doctor.
You know, I probably shouldn't say this. This might get me in trouble, but I'm not going to name names. I was with a former governor who I saw was getting the vaccine. This was right in the initial stages. They posted a picture of it, and I said, well, what about the mRNA? And they told me, I'm not going to say he or she, they told me, or they said, well, what is that? I'm just shocked that, you know, my husband and I go back and forth all the time. Like, what? We know this. Why don't other people know this? And then follow-up question to that. What's going to happen if the Democrats take back the House or Senate this fall?
Well, let me say that there was, I think, blind trust, particularly in the COVID-19 vaccines of any type. I think there was such fear, there was such coercion, and really threat of reprisal. I saw a poor patient today who took the shots. He was told he was going to lose his job, couldn't support his family. Now he's partially paralyzed in one of his legs. He's just, it's affected the arc of his entire life. So people took these under tremendous coercion, threat of reprisal, and fear, and they didn't ask questions. And now those who took the vaccines, they don't want to know. They don't want to investigate what's going on. And most of the medical establishment took them. I didn't take the COVID vaccines. I didn't think they were safe. My wife didn't take them. Boy, we're so happy we didn't. About 19% of Americans, fortunately, passed on the vaccines, but we need some intellectual honesty. If the Democrats come back into power, I'm not sure we're going to see it. Do you know that in the U.S. House of Representatives under Biden, 100% of the Democrats took the vaccine?
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Geez, that's kind of scary. And let's just hope and pray that things go our way. But I want to switch gears really quickly before we end this segment. It's officially summer, and people are traveling and moving and spending more time outdoors, which also means another big issue these days is run-ins with ticks. I talked to my stepdaughter who lives in Tennessee. They're seeing them everywhere. How do you recommend that we protect ourselves, and what should you do if you have a tick bite?
This is critical, and as that picture shows, they can be tiny. Watch it when you're out there in the woods and you're hunting or hiking. The ticks can jump off various leaves, bushes. They ride on animals like deer, dogs, other mammals. And when they bury the head in, the ticks inject various organisms, pathogens, anything from Lyme to babesiosis, Rocky Mountain spotted fever. They also can inject enzymes that can make you allergic to meat, believe it or not. It's called alpha-gal syndrome. So people should wear long sleeves when they're out in the brush for sure. Don't go with shorts and flip-flops. It's very hard to see these ticks, some of them very small. And then importantly, if you see a tick, remove it, including the head. Get the head out, use good sterile wash on it, and then immediately take doxycycline. That's in the medical emergency kit from the wellness company. Immediately take a dose of doxycycline. Follow our guidelines on this. That can spare a lifetime of misery with Lyme disease.
And I will tell you, I was on the Lyme Alliance in Michigan 25 years ago, and that is exactly what they said back then. There were two brothers who got bit by ticks and had the bullseye rash. One had been taking doxycycline because of something else. He survived. The other one was paralyzed for most of his life.
Oh.
So thank you, Dr. McCullough. One quick last question. Is there anything when families are going overseas, is there anything that you recommend that they take with them?
Again, a medical emergency kit. One of the best ones for overseas is the Forest Green travel kit. The thing to worry about, honestly, is getting food poisoning. You're going to Mexico or Central America, traveling, in various parts of the world. Remember, most of us don't have international health insurance. So if we go to an emergency room or urgent care because of intractable nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal cramping, we're going to be stuck. Can't speak the language, not going to be able to control the costs. A lot of times they want to hit you for a cash payment up front. This can all be avoided with a medical emergency kit from the wellness company. Now with cell phones, you can get a doctor on the line, a 24/7 telemedicine. You can be guided through the problem. We've shown with our medical emergency kits, the vast majority of people end up using them. They open them, they use them appropriately, and thankfully they avoid urgent care or the emergency room or some foreign medical encounter that no one wants to have.
Dr. McCullough, thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you again soon on Faith and Freedom. God bless.
Thank you.
And don't forget, everyone, go to twc.health/Shemane, twc.health/Shemane. I've got my products. You should get yours too. Our dogs give us so much love, so much loyalty, and so much joy. And the least we can do is give them the best care possible. That's why Ted and I started Uncle Ted's Natural Canine Supplements. Now, these formulas were created for dogs who, like yours, and ours, who deserve to live long, strong, healthy, active lives with natural ingredients, no junk, and targeted support for things like joint health and digestion and immune function and overall wellness. So if you love your dogs as much as we do, check out the full line of products at getuncleteds.com. Larry Ragland preaches like a man who's been through the fire because he has. He carries a bold prophetic word meant to stir the remnant awake before it's too late. Welcome, Larry Ragland, to Faith and Freedom. Welcome back.
Thank you so much, Shemane. It's an honor to be here once again.
So let's just dive right in. I want to talk about the film Disclosure Day. And you recently posted a reaction video to Dr. Stephen Greer's statement, and you said it came across like it was a ransom video. And I have to agree. So walk us through that. What made you say that?
All right. So speaking of Dr. Greer, I've been following him for years. He has been on the forefront of this whole disclosure world for a very long time. And in fact, he prides himself as the originator of the word disclosure. He says that. And I believe, and I've been told by some people that I don't know him, but I've been told by some people that do know him, that he believes that he is the chosen vessel, and that, he has been told by these entities that he is in constant contact with, that he calls intergalactic, basically aliens, and in the term that we've been programmed to think of them as in the movies and so forth, and that, he's going to be the voice that comes out. Well, when the movie, Steven Spielberg's movie Disclosure Day came out, I thought it was very interesting. Of course, my wife and I saw it twice. The first time, if anybody knows my wife, she had to go by herself, me and her, for research. I didn't get to talk to her at all. Well, she had a little notepad over there making all of her notes. And then we went back with friends to actually watch the movie and digest it. But so we saw the actual agenda of that movie. So I thought to myself, I'm very interested to see what Dr. Stephen Greer is going to say about this movie. And of course, he came out, and I thought it was a very telling statement that he was very pleased with the movie, He had a couple of things that he had some issues with, but for the most part, he was very pleased with it. So that told me that the narrative of Disclosure Day was along the line of the narrative that Dr. Stephen Greer has been propagating from the beginning. And this video that you're talking about that he just put out, it was just so random. It was just a few weeks ago, a couple of days ago, depending on when you were seeing this. And it just happened to pop on my timeline. It had just came out a couple of hours earlier, and he called it an urgent, basically emergency broadcast. And if you've seen the video, I did a reaction video, as you said, you can see it on my channel where we broke down what he was saying. But he reads from these pieces of paper that he has, never looks up at the camera, making sure that he says every word. And he seemed very nervous while he was saying it. It was just sort of out of character for him. And then he transitions from his printed material to the teleprompter. And he's just very, very careful what he's saying. And the premise of that, Shemane, was that he was calling on the world to rise up and to force this disclosure into turbo speed. And I just sort of looked at it as, okay, this someone or something, and I put that in air quotes, put him out there and said, look, you got to get out in front of the narrative that's about to be put out, because the narrative that's going to be put out is not going to match what we want it to be. So, if you follow Dr. Greer, you know that the first Friday that the war.gov videos dropped, on the very same day that it dropped was the day that he had his national press conference, UFO press conference at the National Press Club. So he got out. His message was before the videos dropped. It just sort of felt like that he was trying to get out in front of something that was coming. Now, I do not know if anything is going to happen on July 8th. I have no idea, but I have heard rumors from several people that, the anniversary of Roswell, I believe it's the 79th anniversary of Roswell, is coming up. And so because of that, there's a lot of talk that something was going to come up and be said on July 8th. Whether it happens or not, it's very interesting to me that the week of the 250th birthday of our nation, when there's going to be all these celebrations and everything, that he actually pulls off of the Declaration of Independence and says we need a new declaration in addition to the Declaration of Independence on behalf, basically, of aliens. So, yeah, it just felt forced, and it felt very suspicious that he knows something's coming that maybe the public doesn't know. But I think you and I got a feeling that something big is coming.
Yes. And I'm glad you said that you watched the movie twice, because I have heard from other people saying, don't go watch it. It's demonic. What are your thoughts on, can you get any, I don't know, what are your thoughts about the movie overall? And would you recommend that people see it?
Okay, a very good question. And I would say that my answer to that question, if I recommended people go see it, would really be based on the individual. I think they need to pray about it. I think that Sandy and I prayed before we went in there. We understood going in just by seeing the trailer that it was going to have a demonic agenda. Now, I will say this, and I don't think I'm saying anything that's not out there as a spoiler or whatever. It's just not the greatest movie in the world. Yeah, it's true, Shemane. I'm looking at Jaws, Close Encounters, Indiana Jones. I'm thinking this is going to be at least an exciting movie. It was not a great movie. And I think everybody that went to see it would say this is definitely not top 5, maybe not even top 7 or 8 of Steven Spielberg. And it was very obvious that was not what was the driving force. The driving force was the agenda. It was the narrative. And so I don't want to give away a lot of spoilers, but I will say this, that it's very obvious early on that this is an attack against, in my opinion, this is my opinion, and I think most people that has an awake mind, a biblical worldview would probably agree with me. When you watched it, it would show you that this was an attack against a creator, not just a creator, not just a form of God or a God of the universe, but the Christian God. Because, one thing I'll say, and this is a slight spoiler, there is no other religion mentioned in the entire movie. There's no reference to Muslims. There's no reference to Jews. There's no reference to Buddhists. Even when you see the global images where you see people from all over the world participating in this global rollout of disclosure. Most movies you'll see, a scene where somebody's in a mosque, or somebody's standing on the Temple Mount, or there's somebody up in the mountains of the Andes, the Himalayan mountains, rolling a Hindu prayer wheel or something, to just illustrate that everybody's going through this. There just wasn't that. The only thing that was referenced at all was, of course, the Catholic Church, which was by default referencing the Christian religion. And, going into the movie, Steven Spielberg did multiple interviews where he openly said, this movie is going to challenge people's view of God. Is he just our God, or is he the God of, other beings as well? Well, that was very obvious to me. And to answer your question, I would say, I think for somebody that has a strong faith, I did not feel like that it, shook my faith. But I can tell you this, that if you do not have a biblical worldview, if you do not have a Genesis 6 understanding of the world, dare I say, a big picture of what is really going on in the spirit realm, yeah, I can see where some people's faith would be challenged, in the sense of, what would be the big deal? Because one of the lines, and this is even in the trailer, where the line is, what kind of God, and I'm paraphrasing here, I'm not quoting, what kind of God would create such a magnificent universe, such a vast universe, and do it all just for us? Basically, what makes us feel so special? And so that is an underlying theme, and actually a really an obvious theme throughout it all. And I think for some people, it is the beginning. I don't think it's the faith-shaking video that some people thought it was going to be, but I do think that it is, Shemane. I truly do believe that it is a next drop in the drip, drip, drip of that. And I think it's a seed that would be planted. There's a lot of scenes in there that if you're not truly sold out to Jesus is the only way, there's just this message of empathy, of peace, of unity. The aliens are portrayed as the kindest, gentlest beings in the history of any history, and that, we're made out to be the bad guys. So the humans are the bad guys, the aliens love us. And so that alone is going to be the narrative that I've, always said. I think a lot of other people have said for years that have been awake to this, is that's ultimately what this is about. It's about the assault against the Creator, because once you don't believe that, you were created in the image of God and in the likeness of him you were created, then that opens up the door to all kinds of other demonic activity. So I would say pray before you're going in. A lot of folks on our channel have said, I'm not going to see it. I've heard your take on it. That's enough for me. But some people want to go see it just to go see a movie. And if you're just going to go see a movie, let me just tell you, this is not just a movie. And it's not a great movie.
Not the movie
but
for you. If you want to see a good movie, this is not the one you should see.
True. Yeah. Wait for it to come out on streaming.
There you go. So I've got you for the next segment as well. Can you stick around?
Absolutely. I'd love to.
Okay, because I want to talk about, you've got a new book and you've got so much going on. So we're going to be right back with Larry Ragland. And I'm not sure if I'm going to go watch the movie. I want to hear your thoughts. Message me at shemane.chat@gmail.com. I think a sign of getting older is when you wake up and you ask your spouse, how did you sleep? Because I don't know, Ted and I do that all the time. And if you think about it, you spend a third of your life in bed, and sometimes it just feels like a punishment. You know what I mean? You got a flat pillow that doesn't fit, or scratchy sheets. And then before you even get to bed, you take a shower or a bath and the towel doesn't absorb. I mean, maybe I'm just describing the problems that I've had over the years, but now I don't have them anymore because we use MyPillow. And I'm telling you, the towels are the best. Whenever I travel, I'm like, oh, I don't have the MyPillow towels that are so fluffy and soft. And our dogs love the dog beds. I've actually laid on the dog beds with my dogs before. That's just the type of dog mom that I am. But nobody talks about the commitment that Mike Lindell and MyPillow have had. They're famous for their pillows, but your dogs love them too. The sheets are great. There's so many products. Go to mypillow.com and use the promo code FAITH, Or guess what? I have my own number. You can call 1-800-933-6972. Don't forget mypillow.com. Use the promo code FAITH to get your discount. You're going to want a discount. So we're back with Larry Ragland. Larry, welcome back.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Okay, I have a two-part question. In Genesis 6:4, it says, the Nephilim were on the earth in those days and also afterward. First, part one, why does the church skip over this? And second, could the Nephilim bloodline still be walking among us today?
Shemane, you ask some great questions. I watch you all the time. You and my wife. I can't wait for you guys to meet. Y'all would just love each other because y'all think the same way. so yeah, great question. First question I will address and answer as a pastor. I've been pastoring the same church here in Birmingham, Alabama for almost 32 years. Been in pastoral ministry for 35 years, and I was one of those pastors that didn't want to touch it either for a long, long time. And you have to get to the place where you have to understand, you've got to absorb, before you can really fully absorb Genesis chapter 6 that you referred to, you've really got to absorb the words of Jesus. When Jesus answered the question, what will be the sign that we should be looking for? Give us some signs that you're going to be returning. He led with, see that you be not deceived. Matthew 24, he says, see that you be not deceived, because there's going to become this great deception. I think he mentions deception at least 4 times in that one chapter. And then he talks about wars and rumors of wars and earthquakes. And of course, we're seeing the uptick of earthquakes and wars like never before right now. But then he said, as in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the days of the coming of the Son of Man. Then he comes back and says, in the days before the flood, and describes the conditions before the flood, that men were and women were marrying and giving in marriage. So basically he says, okay, you've got to understand that there's no way you're going to fully grasp the world that we're in right before I return if you do not understand the days of Noah. Now, he knew exactly what he was doing. He was very intentional in what he said and why he said it. And he knew that the crowd that was listening to him would be fully versed on the Genesis 6 story, that it was not a nursery rhyme, that it was not just this children's church story that we were told growing up and taught in church. And these are important parts of the story: the flood, the 40 days of rain, 40 days and nights of rain, the boat itself, the animals 2 by 2. Yes, those are part of the story, and there's deep spiritual significance even in that, types and shadows and all these kind of things, not to mention the fact that the magnitude of that it saved the world, that it saved all breathing creatures, and of course it saved humanity. And then of course it saved and preserved the perfect seed line, that the seed of the woman mentioned in Genesis chapter 6 could come through, which would of course be the Messiah, the virgin birth, Jesus Christ. So all of that is part of the story that should be taught. And I think most pastors are comfortable teaching that, but they are uncomfortable teaching the story of the Nephilim. Now, Nephilim used to be this horrible word that people would shy away from. Now it's a very accepted word, and most people say it and they understand what it means. It is the original Hebrew Nephil or Nephilim. That is basically the Hebrew word for giant. And we have understanding of the word giant in our English Bibles. So people are afraid to preach about that. They would love to preach about David and Goliath and all of that. Right. And they would preach about the Goliath and the giants, even in Jericho, but they would not touch Genesis 6. So to answer your question is, I believe that they were afraid. A lot of people skip over that. People read over it, skim over it, and preachers even don't want to preach it, because if you're honest with yourself and you're honest with Scripture and you allow yourself to really look into what Jesus was saying, you understand that this is going to cause you to go down the proverbial rabbit hole, if you will, and you're going to have to wake up that there's more going on in this world than what we thought. And it is the very real war that we're actually fighting. And it is very strange. Y'all, the story of Genesis 6 didn't begin in Genesis 6. The judgment culminated in Genesis 6. It began generations before that. And so when I started studying that and began to realize that it took a long time for there to become a world that would require a global judgment on the level of Genesis 6. And Shemane, I believe we're repeating it again now. And I believe that not only we're repeating again, I believe it's accelerating right now. And it is more dangerous in my opinion, in my interpretation, my study of Scripture, I believe it's a more dangerous world right now than even in the days of Noah.
Wow, I just got goosebumps. So answer the second part of that question.
Remind me.
Okay. Are there Nephilim?
Oh, okay.
Is there a
Are they still here?
bloodline,
Yeah.
Nephilim bloodline walking around today?
Okay, I would say yes, absolutely. I actually watched the recent episode that you had Timothy Alberino on, and I loved his answer. I've heard his answer many times. I have heard the story of the giant of Kandahar multiple occasions, and I'm just one of them that happens to believe that some people are seeing certain things, even when it comes to Bigfoot. Are they a form of Nephilim? I don't know, but the giants. Understand this, the Nephilim, I do believe that there are actual creatures. The Bible talks about man's heart failing them because of the things that are going to come upon the earth. And I think Rick Renner and Troy Brewer and several others have really broke that down a lot better than I could. Explaining the original Greek is actually the word monsters, that men's heart will fail for the monsters that will be seen. Well, our word that we use for monsters now is anything that's just scary, it's unexplainable, that's supernatural. Well, we have a world now that is infatuated with the paranormal. They're infatuated with the supernatural. They're looking for ghosts, they're chasing ghosts. I believe the Nephilim is a catch-all phrase right now. It is. In the days of Noah and in the days after the flood, they're basically concentrated in what would be known as the area of Canaan, which is where most of the giants in the Bible returned on a more geographical location versus global post-flood. I believe, yes, I do believe that there probably are remnants of actual giants spread out around the world. But I'm going to say something that might alarm a lot of people, and a lot of people are going to disagree with me. I think that the giant agenda is bigger than just actual physical giant. It is the agenda of the fallen angels. The Watcher agenda is what I would also call the Nephilim agenda, where it's ultimately what they were trying to do with the Nephilim was to taint the DNA of God that God had put in man. I call it the DNA of greatness, the DNA of God that is within us, our spirit being, because we were created in the image and likeness of God. So when the devil looks at us, he hates us so much because we remind him of God. So when you look at the grand scheme now, it's not a global epidemic of giants, 12 foot, 14 feet, 16 feet tall, walking around and just scaring people that way. But now, you know what we have now? We have, and they're unashamedly, they call themselves this, all of these AI companies, all of these software and data companies, they're called titans. They're called tech giants. Think about it. That's what the media calls them, tech giants. So when you start looking at it like that, Shemane, I think that they understood that's how they come back. They're going to come back through tech and through AI.
Wow, that is a great point. Okay, we've got about a minute left. Talk about your book, The Final Flood, and also a new book.
Oh, yeah. The Final Flood. You can get it very easy at thefinalflood.com, or you can go to my website, LarryRagland.com. But it is a book based on everything that we're talking about, and it is touching people all around the world. I'm just very blessed about all that God is doing with it. It's back in the top 10 in several categories, number one in some categories, because it is the timing. God just laid it out, perfect timing. People are hungry for this information, and so excited. So the second book is as a part of a 3-part trilogy. I can't say much more about it. It's going to be called The Final Trilogy, where we talk about the 3 different final things, but I'm writing it now. Sometime early next year, it's going to come out. But right now, I'm not going to hold myself to it, but the working title of it right now is The Final Mandate. So we have the final flood. So now we need to understand what is our final assignment. And I believe that the remnant, this book is going to go deep into what it means to operate as a child of God, awake in this moment, the final mandate. So more information about that coming soon, but it's in the works right now.
Well, you better hurry up because I need to see it. I need to read it. I need to find out what's the final mandate. Larry Ragland, thank you so much for joining me here on Faith and Freedom. I hope you will come back soon.
Absolutely. Thank you for all you do, Shemane. I really appreciate it.
And people can find you all over social media and LarryRagland.com, right?
That's correct. LarryRagland.com. Search for me on YouTube, The Big Picture.
The Big Picture. Okay.
From prayer to purpose to a promise that still stands. From Rav's own Steve Gruber comes One Nation by Steve Gruber and the Freedom Project. A powerful new American anthem for the 4th of July. Faith, freedom, and unity in every line. A new release through Real America's Music. One Nation. Download it now. Scan the QR code or search One Nation by Steve Gruber and the Freedom Project on iTunes.
Well, he's a journalist, a broadcaster, and my friend Steve Gruber is here to talk about his new song, One Nation, and his work with the Freedom Project. Steve, welcome.
Shemane, nice to see you, my friend. It is Independence Day weekend. It feels good to be an American.
Yes, it does. So my first question for you, Steve, is, are you going to be opening for TED this summer?
Well, I haven't gotten the invite, but look, I can put a band together. I'm ready to go. Look, I mean, I know this is normal territory for you. It's not really normal territory for me, but it was a project that came along. We embraced it. And by gosh, it has done so well. It's been number one on the Christian charts on iTunes for several days running now. It's made its way all the way up to number 2 on iTunes across the board, all genres. Ella Langley, that nice girl from Texas, God bless her. She loves America too. I can't quite get past her, but she sells lots and lots of records. So we're proud of what we've done here to celebrate America, to celebrate God, and to celebrate this great nation in 250 years on.
So what inspired you to, now I see you playing drums in it, but did you write the song?
Yes.
Did you produce it? What inspired you to do all that?
Well, that woman that's leading the song there, Laura Kokenauer, is one of my pastors. And, look, I've walked into a number of churches. You've been around music, obviously, for decades. And usually when I would walk into a church, I'd hear the band and I'd go, they're all right. I walked into this church a couple of years ago and I saw Laura playing the piano and she's got her brother playing the drums and it's a family ordeal. And they were great. I mean, this band had some kick. This band had some guns, right? So I was really pleased to see it. And so what happened was Real America's Music, Rob Sig and his team said, look, we're doing this music thing. You got anything? I said, I just might. Let me get back to you. And I went along with my wife, Ivy, who appears in the video here also as a backup singer. And I think she's going to be doing some lead vocals on some of the new Freedom Project stuff. We'll get to that. But I said, Laura, look, I've got these components about God and America and who we are as a people. And she said, let me take some of these components and get back to you. And she came back with this rough draft, this first tape. And I was like blown away. Ivy had tears in her eyes. And I said, look, here's what I want to do. I want to put the Pledge of Allegiance there, but I want to put it in with a little kid. And Laura says, I've got this perfect little girl. Let's see if she can do it. And she did. Bella's her name. And she recites the Pledge of Allegiance back to me. And to me, Shemane, that is what Independence Day is all about, passing the baton to the next generation. And it really has resonated with people. I'm just sitting here. My emails are full of people saying, you touched me. You made me cry. Veterans and moms and people all over this country. And look, I mean, we passed Taylor Swift yesterday. Sorry about your wedding day, Taylor, but, we passed this little upstart deal because, as you know, this is how this music game works. Big corporations, Sony and Netflix and Universal, they've got these giant budgets. We're just Real America's Music, this little upstart underdog coming along, but putting out a real song that is really connected with people. So Laura and I co-wrote the song. We tweaked it back and forth. Only took about 6-7 weeks to put it all together, and we brought it out. But I don't know if in my wildest dreams I thought it'd be the number one Christian song in America for days on end, or that it would make number 2 on the all genre list across iTunes. It's just been so well received, and I just think there's so much garbage out there attacking America.
Yeah.
And I just think people want to say, you know what? I want to celebrate America. You hear it from young people, especially young men under 30. They're sick and tired of their team getting spit on or the flag being torn down and disrespected. And people saying we need to tear this country down, these socialists are taking over. I think people just wanted a chance to breathe and celebrate the country that they love.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think the timing is perfect. So congratulations, my friend, on your success.
Yeah.
Talk about the Freedom Project. What is it?
Well, the reason I did it that way is because Laura has a very talented brother who can sing, more of a country music kind of a thing, and some other people that I know. And I didn't want to say Steve Gruber because I'm not really the one out there out front. I play the drums, sure, and I do some different things. But I wanted the opportunity to work with anybody. You know, if Ted wants to join the Freedom Project, we've got an open invitation. And so the Freedom Project is for anybody who has some good music, who has the ability to write and perform and deliver something that believes in America, right? That's what it is. The Freedom Project is returning real patriotic music to America, much like Real America's Music and the SIGs have done here. My idea was that way it's all inclusive. Anybody who believes in what we're doing and saving this country and has a story to tell or a song to sing, we can work with them. We can make something happen.
Well, I might be contacting you because I was playing around and I came up with some lyrics. Now, I can't sing and I was going to say I don't play an instrument. I played the flute in high school. I won a few awards, but that wouldn't fit. But I do know this guy that plays the guitar, and I betcha he'd do the guitar solo for me. But maybe we'll talk about that, Steve. How can people find out?
I bet he wouldn't
more?
mind.
Pardon me?
I said, I bet he wouldn't mind. I do have to give a shout out to Laura, though. She did play the piano. She did those guitar riffs. Not bad, right?
Right.
And she played the bass. I had to play the drums because I couldn't make the poor woman do everything. I mean, I had to do something to pick up the slack. Anyhow, go back to where you were.
Good for you.
Yeah.
No, it's an amazing accomplishment. And these days, why not? You're absolutely right. I teach group fitness, been teaching for 46 years.
Yeah.
And sometimes now knowing who people are in the entertainment industry, what their background is, and what these lyrics really represent, I can't listen to it anymore. It's disgusting to me.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we want clean. I want a song my kids can listen to, or my grandkids, or the kid down the street, or whoever, right? And feel good about it. That's all. And feel good about this country. We need to teach our children properly that America is the greatest country. And again, that brings me back to the Pledge of Allegiance with Bella. I wanted to show this passing of the baton to a younger generation and how much America means to me. And I hope it resonates.
Well, Steve Gruber, thank you so much for sharing that with me. Congratulations again on your success. And my best of luck to you and your whole team, because we need more music like this that really celebrates America's 250th celebration. So, Steve Gruber, thank you so much.
Thank you, Shemane.
And to learn more about Steve Gruber, the Freedom Project, and his new song, One Nation, just scan that QR code we're going to put up in just a second. If you're looking for ways to clean your skin, treat your skin, support your health, I love the products at Row Casa Organics, from wellness essentials to products we use around the house, essential oils, and they actually have sprays for fleas and ticks and things like that for yourself and for your pets. So check it out, Row Casa Organics. And don't forget to use the promo code Shemane, rowcasaorganics.com, and use that promo code. Actually, promo code is FAITH. And guess what? You're going to save 20, not 10, but 20% off. So check it out. And also, guys, don't forget to support the companies that support this show, from My Pillow, Mike Lindell, to the Wellness Company. I use their products. I use all these products, and I want to share them with you because we've got to support patriots and who support this country, especially now on our 250th anniversary birthday. So thank you guys so much for being here. Don't forget, Esther 4:14, you were born for such a time as this. I honestly believe it. Thank you, and I'll see you next week. God bless.